Making an instructional video for the COVID Ranger mask. We're starting with all of the pieces separately. We have two strips that are 34 inches long by 1.5 inches wide. We have a nose piece, and then we will have 4 separate mask pieces. Instructions say to stitch the curve first, which is going to be this bottom curve of the mask. That's actually going to be the front, end up being the front of the mask. And you're stitching that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to start there. We have done that curved stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to take it off and then do the other side of the mask with the same thing, stitch along the curve, right sides together, 1/4 inch seam allowance. The mask with the curved edges sewn. Now we're going to go to the nose piece next, which is going to be folded. We're going to do a little tiny hem all the way around. So now that you've done a little hem all the way around the nose piece, we're going to fold it in half to make a little tunnel. You're not going to sew the ends, so those will be open. So you're going to sew on each side, the long sides. So this folded side here, it's still going to be a little tunnel, and there's open ends here. And then we're going to end up attaching it. We're going to have to iron this seam open, and this tunnel, it's going to be on the right side of your interior piece of your mask, and you're going to sew it in that little part right there, as close to the top as you can get. 1 inch down, so because you're going to have a 5/8 seam allowance when you sew the pieces together, so that'll give you just a little bit of room between the top of the mask and the tunnel. So I got a little messy on my first pass on the nose piece, but this is what it will end up looking like. You've got your little nose piece that goes across that top pointed part of your interior of your mask. Step is to fold and pin the lining. So since this is going to be my lining piece, I'm going to fold it 2 times in order to make about a 1/2 inch little fold there, and I'm going to pin it that way. That fold in place, and I'm going to do that to the other side. You may have to start a little further down stitching and then back stitch up to the top to be able to feed this through the machine. Say I'm supposed to line the lining up with the front of the mask. I'm going to do that right sides together. So that's the right side of this lining part, and that's the right side of the front of the mask. And so I'm going to pin, starting with the top part where the nose piece is sewn in the middle, and then I'm going to pin outwardly on the top and then on the bottom of the mask. Okay, now my top piece and my lining are pinned together, right sides together at the top and along the bottom, and now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to sew that 5/8 inch seam along the top and the bottom of the mask, not on the sides, because we're going to keep this little pocket here. Just to pull all your pins out and then turn this little mask inside out. Head and pinned it back together just so it could make a nice flat seam that I'm going to go back, and on the top and the bottom I'm going to make a really tiny little top stitch all the way across the top and then all the way across the bottom. Stitch as close to the edge as you can, like I did here. It's just a tiny little stitch right along the top edge of the fabric. I have my 2 stitches that go across the bottom and the top of the mask. I had to be real careful to miss the wire tunnel there. Okay, in order to make the strap channel, you want to fold this over a 1/4 inch, and then you're going to fold it over again. And I actually ended up with not enough material to make a channel that's not going to be attached to this pocket, and that's okay. We don't actually have to have the pocket for some sort of liner. So if you have to do that, that's fine. But I'm going to pin it like this and sew as close to this edge as possible so that there's a channel here for the strap to go through. That's my finished product, and as you can see, there's going to be a little tunnel there for the strap to be able to go through. So what I've learned is, since this is my first time making one of these masks, is if I want to leave this pocket open, I'm going to, on the lining, have to fold this piece right here down more. And sew a wider section off so that I can have more length left on this end in order to make the strap channel. The mask, I have two little strap channels, my nose piece, my interior, and my exterior. And I'm about to make the straps, which are these two 34 by 1.5 inch pieces that I'm going to fold into a little hem there. Actually, I will probably fold it in half and iron it, and then fold those halves into the center and iron that, and then fold it all together and just stitch one edge and the ends, and that'll make my strap. You go ahead and sew that end so that it doesn't come unraveled. Okay, now that I have my two straps, I'm going to take a safety pin and put it on the end of one of my straps, and then I'm going to push it through this tunnel and pull it out the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to measure that I want above the top edge of the tunnel for the strap, I want 16 inches of length. And then I'm going to go in and stitch along this tunnel so that the strap doesn't come out during the wash. And did a little zigzag stitch right there. So now the strap is stuck in there. Here we go, my finished mask. I have my stitches on both sides, my straps, my little wire tunnel, and that's my mask.